I'm back. You're here. I'm here. Let's do this. Welcome to the Don't Stifle Me podcast. My name is Jacob Stiefel, and this is where I have the privilege to sit down with people from all across music and performing arts, and I talk with them about how they've done, what they've done, and the ups and downs along the way, and whatever else comes up in conversation. When I'm not podcasting, I am also a singer, songwriter, and musician myself. And coming up, I'll be on the road. I have shows in Guntersville, Alabama on June 8th and in Albertville, Alabama on June 9th. So if you're around there, come hang out. For more dates and info and music and all that, you can check out jacobstiefel.com. That's JACOBSTIEFEL.com. As for the podcast here, we are currently running on the value for value model. And that means that if you enjoy these talks that I put out there for free, then you can all decide if and what I get paid to do them. So for as little as $1, $2, $3 a month or more, you can help support the process, but also get behind the scenes pictures and video, and I'll post some audio stuff, MP3s, all kinds of things over at the Patreon page. And that is patreon.com/DSM podcast. Or there's a link over at the podcast website, which is don'tstifleme.com. All right. My guest today has worked in artist merchandising and has been on tour with Taylor Swift, Miley Cyrus, the Eagles, and a handful of other well-known acts. And he is now an advisor at Belmont University's Mike Curb School of Music here in Nashville. It was awesome to hear about all that and much more. Here's my chat with Alex Quattlebaum.
Pick it up the piano.
So here we are, and Alex Quattlebaum?
Quattlebaum.
That is a fantastic name.
Thank you.
I'm a fan. What is your current job, title, position? What do you do right now?
Currently, I work at Belmont University in the Mike Curb College of Music, Business, and Entertainment.
Oh,
and
very nice.
I am an academic advisor, if you will, is my technical title. But I sort of advise them on their world from the time that they sort of start to the time that they finish at Belmont. We have a bunch of different majors, so it's spread out across audio engineering, music business, entertainment industries, songwriting, motion pictures, people, all those kind of things. And we just added a whole nother one college moved from another one to ours. So I guess I'll learn about journalism now too.
That's a lot of stuff. You can talk to. We have a special guest, by the way, Chance Gray over here.
We got a journalism major in the house.
Yeah. Speaking of journalism.
You can teach me.
That's a lot of stuff. That's a lot of stuff that you just blew through right there.
Yeah, we've got about 12 majors now under our wing.
So you help the kids that don't know what the hell they're doing focus in on what the hell they're doing?
Exactly, and none of them know what the hell they're doing, if you know what I mean.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not sure everybody in this room knows what the hell they're doing.
I don't think I do most days.
I really could have used you in college.
Well, it's funny because I focus more on transfers, so they kind of have an idea that because they've done some kind of college or some kind of coursework before they get there, and so they're like, "Oh, I'm coming here for like a specific thing." And then you go, well, what do you want to do? And they go, well, I think I want to be in management. And then you go, why? They don't really have much of an answer for you. So then that's kind of when I start steering them towards, certain classes or certain things or questions to ask or events to volunteer at. Because we have 100, I would say roughly 100 events a semester that they can volunteer at. Some of them are small. Some of them are as big as the Billboard Awards or something like that.
That's a crazy thing because people think, oh, you live in Nashville, you work in music, you must be a singer, a songwriter, or a musician. I was like, no, there's a billion jobs in this industry. Like, people don't understand, until you get into it, you don't really comprehend. There's all kinds of things. Like on the tours that y'all have been on, there's carpenters and
automations. And
God knows what else.
Yeah. It's interesting how that all sort of rolls out. Everyone's like, oh, I want to be an artist manager, or oh, I want to be a tour manager. And the question is, do you really want to be a tour manager? Because you know what goes into that. Like, you have to do so many things that include babysitting. So how good of a babysitter are you?
Yeah. I feel like a prerequisite for a tour manager should be you should have to go run a preschool class for like 3 months or something.
Because those are more well behaved than some of the adults.
Right. Chance was out one time. I forgot what tour it was on. It's probably good that I forgot what tour it's on. But they asked him to put up the signs for like bathrooms and this and that in addition to whatever he was doing at the time. And I talked to him on that tour, and he was like, yeah, pretty much what I do is I just think, if I was 8 years old and didn't know what was going on, where would I look for a sign? And that's where I put the sign.
That's true. And then you still get lost, especially if there's steps involved, because if there's stairs, everyone gets real confused with stairs.
You still got a bass player going, man, where's the catering again?
Man, tour managers, I have so much respect for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially the good ones. There are some really great ones out there, but the stuff they have to deal with.
Man, it really is like herding kittens. People like joke around about that, but and it's not. Of course, there's the good and bad people to deal with. Some people are fine, but for the most part, like a lot of musicians are really good at what they do, but not.
It's in large part a babysitting gig. Like, I used to think I wanted to be a tour manager because I thought, what's the next step up the ladder, and it made sense. And I went out and tried it, and it was like, you do all these things to make the day work, and the show happens, and everything's like, man, this is great. But then there's the babysitting element.
Yeah, your job's still going.
I forgot my guitar. Has anyone seen my strap? Where's the bathrooms at? Hey, when is the liquor going to get here?
Do you have any towels?
What time are we leaving again tonight? Like, is it okay if I'm like a little bit late?
What do you mean we only get pizza for after show food?
Just all this stuff.
Flip flops. I've lost my flip flops. It's all those kind of things. But I think what's cool about tour managers too is the really good ones. Like they're the ones that did sort of start at the bottom in some of those other jobs and sort of moved their way up. So they kind of have the comprehension of it all. It's when they just sort of get lucky because they're a friend of the artist or a friend of someone, and then they just sort of jump into that tour manager role.
Right.
You can really see. I mean, you can really see the difference.
Yeah, because if you work your way up, you see what along the way things to do and things not to do, and
you have an understanding of everything. Like if you understand how merchandise works, if you understand how not only hotels, and if you're on a big tour that's got VIP and sponsorships and all those kind of extra elements that are not show related, when you understand all that, I think that's what really makes the better ones. Yeah. Or in my experience, the ones I've enjoyed versus the ones I haven't enjoyed as much.
I've seen, a lot of folks doing the gig. You'll see them running around with their head on fire. And they're like, man, that guy's just busy. He's just always working. And then last month, I had a bus driver tell me, he's like, Chance, the best tour managers are the ones you never see working. And I thought about that for a while, and I had a couple guys come back into my mind. I was like, yeah, this guy didn't seem to be working that hard, but now that I think about it, everything happened flawlessly all the time, and he wasn't running around
with his head cut off.
Yeah, and like that, he was good.
Yeah, it's like Dave Ramsey was talking about. I've heard him talk about when you start a business or it's better to grow slowly, because when you grow slowly, you see all the little things and you learn how to work this and how to work this and how this works. And whereas the people that just start something and it blows up, it's like you're talking about somebody that just jumps into tour managing, you don't really know
where to go, which way is left and which way is right, which becomes very important when you're trying to, route a tour. Oh, you mean we have to go 400 miles instead of 300? And all those, whatever it may be.
Speaking of experience, what did you do before you were an advisor? What was your...
Yeah, so I actually am an alum at Belmont. So I went there, was a music business and marketing major. So essentially I have a bachelor's of business administration degree, and I interned at a management company, interned at Big Machine Records. At that point now they've changed their name and have had 4 different record labels and whatnot. But did that for a while, and then as soon as I graduated, about 3 weeks after, I went on the road.
So you did all that while you were still in school at Belmont?
Oh, while I was still in school. So you're allowed to intern for so many credit hours. So instead of taking classes, you can intern. So I was like, that's what I want. I want to volunteer. I want to do all that kind of thing. So after my first year, I I only went to Belmont for 2.5 years is how long it took me to get through everything. So
nice.
Yeah, so transferred in, did all this stuff, and then
we were talking earlier about you hammering out the summer classes.
Yeah,
and everything,
I loaded up as much as I humanly possibly can. One semester I did 19 hours, 2 jobs, 2 internships, all in the same semester.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
That was crazy, and that was the dumbest thing I probably ever did. That was probably my lowest GPA semester, but it worked out because it saved me from...
Chance and I were in Tuscaloosa, and we were trying to figure out how long we could stay there. Like, didn't you take some extra classes so you could be there for one more football season?
What happened
What happened
was I was supposed to graduate in August of 2007, and that's what I was going to do. And I scheduled classes. I went to a couple classes, and then I got to thinking about it, and I thought, Nick Saban is coming for the fall for his
first year,
for his first season. I should be here for that, so I canceled all my classes. Went home, worked for my dad for the summer, and came back just so I could have one last football season.
Yeah.
Belmont is a great school, but it's so expensive. So I wanted that extra marketing degree, which I think is what actually helped me later on down the line to get some of the touring jobs that I did.
Yeah.
I had it was
so your music business and marketing,
marketing, double major. So I did all that and worked the jobs and went to classes, and then as soon as I got a call, I don't know, probably around end of October, early November, saying, hey, next year's going to be really busy. It was from the management company that I had interned with, and they were like, hey, do you think you'd want to be interested? We don't have a job for you in the office. Would you be interested in doing anything on the road? And I was supposed to go out a couple times and like assist, so I didn't get to because both of the shows got canceled, those kind of things. But they were like, do you want to give it a shot? And I was like, great. So crickets until after Christmas. January rolls around, nothing's really come of it other than I kind of said yes, and I said I had nothing else going on, but let me know. And crickets. January rolls around, are you still into this? And I was like, yeah, I thought this was a done deal. I've been telling people that I had a job. So, but it was just because of the time of the year. It wasn't anything other than that. And so I don't know, they came back, and mid-January I kicked off. So it was about maybe a month. I said 3 weeks, but maybe a month after, and I was on the road for about 10 months. Then I took a job as a admin assistant in the accounting department at Sony ATV Publishing, and I was an assistant for 22 people in a temp role over there Christmas season. And then right after that, I got a job offer to go on the road. Well, I contacted someone. I said, hey, I want to try out the road again. And they said, well, what about Miley Cyrus? And by the way, we need you to leave on Friday. And I
Ain't that the way it always works?
I was like, okay, let me give my week's notice. And Sony AT was totally cool about it because I was a temp. And went on that, and then just continuously toured until last May. And I ended a tour in mid-April, and then got the job offer, and then started May 1st at Belmont. And so I just reached my first year, kind of, off the road. So
regular people hours,
benefits. I turned 26. I thought that it was time to grow up a little bit. You have to take care of all those things that you don't have to do before.
I'm 4 years late on that thing.
Well, I was like, I'm going to have to figure out how to pay for this, and it's not cheap. And but honestly, though, it worked out because the last tour, it was a long tour, and there was a lot of things that went on, and everything sort of happened. It was just sort of like it was put in front of me to leave the road. It was time to take that break. But had I not, I had 2 tours lined up for the rest of the year, so it would have been a busy year either way. But this thing kind of presented itself, and I was like, it'd be really great to sort of give back, kind of tell a story. I felt like I had a story to tell at that point.
College, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And an alum that sort of did something different. A lot of people don't realize that they're going to end up on the road, and that's what I tell most of the kids that are in school now. Like, you're either going to end up doing one of two things. You're going to end up on the road doing some kind of position, or you're going to end up in some kind of admin role at a publishing company, maybe radio. There's a lot of different smaller positions. You're not going to end up in the entry level. You're not going to end up at the management companies. You're not always going to end up at the labels, because those jobs come open less, or they're smaller management companies here in town, and they're just few and far between. So
when they do come open, they go to somebody's buddy's nephew that's or in my that's been working under this for whatever.
Exactly. Or they go in house. What they do tend to hire interns, especially if it's like a unfortunately, if it's someone it's a male that you're going to be on their desk, they want a female that's going to be the person that's going to be on their desk as opposed to a male. So that's kind of males end up doing certain jobs and females end up doing certain jobs, which I'm sure has been a hot topic over the last year, with all the stuff going on in the entertainment industry.
Yeah. So back before all of that, where are you from originally? Let's start at the
I
beginning.
even skipped that. I just jumped into business. That's like how my mind works.
Right, it's good.
No, I'm originally from Arkansas, a town called Searcy, which is about 45 minutes northeast of Little Rock. So it's like central Arkansas, about 6 hours out of Nashville. It's a good little small town. Too small for me, and it was time to go. So I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I actually graduated high school a year early and was trying to figure out how to do it 2 years early. And my counselor was like, I don't know if you're going to manage that. So I was doing college classes, and it's been kind of cool, though, because she helped me navigate that. I got out early and then stayed home for a year, did a community college because I was 17 at the time. So I was like, I'll just do community college, get some of the basic credits out for much, much cheaper and take care of that and then transfer. And Belmont was the only school I applied to, so it was either get in or go to the community college again. So I was really glad that it worked out.
They put all your eggs in one basket there.
But what's been great is I didn't realize this at the time, but that counselor was a huge country music fan, and every year they come to CMA Fest, so they've gotten to come to see me do a bunch of things. And, I've worked in the convention hall where they do all this merch selling and all of the autograph signings and those kind of things. So they get to come in and they're like, so what'd you do this year? And it's just kind of a full circle moment. But no, I kind of grew up, we had a family country show that they did on the weekends, and all those blue hair gets out and start dancing and those kind of things. It was fun. So I always grew up in music. And
do you play anything?
Only to myself in the shower, because that's the way everybody prefers it. No, I used to play the trumpet in band and those kind of things, and I can noodle a little bit, but I don't profess to be any kind of musician or anything like that. I actually don't own any instruments at this point, but I do know enough to get by and kind of have the conversations with the musicians of the world and understand what they're saying, and which is, I think, part of the battle too. Or not the battle, that's not the right word. I guess it's more of the conversation in the world of what you're dealing with on an everyday basis. So.
Yeah. I was telling my sister the other day that I think every house or apartment or whatever should have a musical instrument.
Oh, I would agree with
whether
that.
the people that live there play or not. I think every house, to me, with a family, should have either a piano and or a guitar in it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. You wouldn't have to carry your own gear around.
Yeah.
You're
because
just like,
when I'm
you want
there,
to jam? Piano.
And I was also telling her that I think maybe this Christmas or his birthday next year, I'm going to be getting my nephew a drum set.
With the plugs, right?
Just
so that when they start drumming, it's all in their ears.
Oh, no, I'm going to give him the full thing.
Oh,
just for my brother-in-law.
Oh, just for your brother-in-law.
Just for you.
Oh, man. That's what, my uncle did the same thing for me.
Yeah.
When I was a kid for Christmas, I got a drum set, and I opened it, and I was super excited for this drum set, and I couldn't wait to wear it out. And my uncle laughed, and he was like, I can't wait for you to take that home and play drums for your parents. Yeah. And my dad shook his head, and he said, oh, no, them staying right here at your house. And sure enough, they did. I set them up in my uncle's bedroom right next to his bed, and he had to watch me listen to me try to play drums.
Yeah. Well, no one really gave me an instrument, but at the country show, they did put a mop head on my head and had me go out sing Blue Moon of Kentucky with them during the show.
Oh,
so
that's great.
That was like they're like, come on out, let's do it. So
you say country show? This is like a hoedown, like a square dance thing or something?
It's kind of like, have you been to Branson before?
Yeah,
Branson has like shows
I know
and all the
about.
theaters and those kind of things. So it was kind of that, except a little more smaller. I mean, it was a 2-hour show. You had an hour and an hour here, and they would cover. At that point, it was early 2000s, late 90s. So they're covering some of the newer songs, but at the same time, they're doing old country music with the steel. My uncle is a steel player, so a very good, and so he plays that
cool.
and like dobro and that kind of thing. So it was his band, and they would just get up there and play, and it was a weekend thing, and they had a couple singers, and they would just sing, at that point, Leanne Womack was on fire, so it was the Leanne Womack songs, and then they would go back and do Patti Loveless and Pam Tillis and all those kind of people of the 90s and 80s.
Yeah.
And, they still kick around and do some local shows, but there's no show anymore, no like weekly show anymore.
You don't go back and do a encore performance of Blue Moon of Kentucky every now and then?
No, but if they did, I feel like
maybe do
at
a Christmas
this
show?
I mean, I would think about it, but at this point, I did that for free, so I don't know if I can do that for free anymore.
So what, you were born like 91-ish?
I was born 91.
91?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 1991, and yeah.
Did you grow? Are you familiar with El Dorado, Arkansas?
Yes, it's not that far. I haven't been there very much, but I have been through there several times.
We just did a show there.
Is that how they pronounce it?
That is correct.
It is.
Yeah,
There was a.
Did y'all do the festival thing that they do there, or is it like that little small, like on the?
It's a small venue that's really nice and really new. Like Murphy Oil Company is there.
Yeah.
From what I understood, and I read a little bit about it, like in the 1920s, it was like a boom town, and all like oil and all this amazing stuff happened, and then it just went to shit. And then apparently,
story of Arkansas's life.
There's like an oil dude
Love you, Arkansas.
with billions of dollars trying to revitalize things now. So they're like redoing downtown. They brought in this music venue, and there was a sign in the elevator that said Dorado is pronounced like tornado. So that's how I know.
Well,
I don't think there's an El Dorado,
But because
Texas.
prior to getting there, I was like
Dorado.
El Dorado. That's what I thought it
it
was.
does sort of look that way because you hear Desperado and it's spelled very
Well, it's
similar.
also the classic John Wayne movie called El Dorado is my
Yes.
favorite, my personal favorite. And it is El Dorado.
Yeah.
But that would be the Spanish pronunciation of it.
Yeah.
But, it's Arkansas.
Yeah, so Arkansas's got their own thing.
Arkansas.
I don't know this, but I think recently they shot a movie down there with like Matthew McConaughey, and it was there, or one of those places around down in that area with like Matthew McConaughey and Reese Witherspoon, so that was kind of cool for those folks down there because I don't know that they've seen a movie star before.
Also on this tour, I had sushi in Little Rock.
Oh, you went to the Robinson Center, didn't you? You had the Robinson Center.
Good old Little Rock sushi.
Just what you need in Little Rock is sushi.
Yeah.
So they like their chains there, actually. You're probably safer to go.
It was okay.
Was it on Markham Street? Or somewhere down there?
It was just,
Street,
somewhere downtown. And I was like, this is probably not a good idea, but yeah, I'll have some.
Yeah.
Well, when you graduated and you did the community college thing, did you have in mind at that point, Belmont? Did you know you wanted to come, like...
Yeah, I did. I think I looked into, more so for me at first, I was really kind of angling to be in Nashville. I really wanted to be in Nashville, and I wanted to do music because I started out wanting to do accounting and then wanted to be a vet and realized I couldn't hurt dogs, and even though you were trying to help them, and all these kind of things. And so my love of music just continued to grow. So I wanted to work in business, but I didn't want to work in normal business. So the music was that's just how I grew up. So I looked into
an abnormal business. That's great. It's
a completely abnormal business, and so I looked into a couple of different schools that have music business programs. I looked into MTSU and those kind of things, but I kept hearing about Belmont. At that time, they used to do the CMT Awards there. When the CMT Awards first started, so I saw the campus on like the red carpet all those kind of things, and I was like, I'm gonna check out this school, and started checking out. I was like, there is no way humanly possible that I can afford to go here. So I just kept looking, but I just sort of kept getting yanked, and I was like, it's right on Music Row, which is what's a lot of the appeal of it, and I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to do it, and so I did, and like I said, that's the only school that I applied for. And actually, I applied the year that I was going to go that I went to the community college and missed the application, so I got denied. And I said, "Why did I get denied?" And they're like, "Because you missed the deadline." I was like, "Okay,
that makes sense.
That's fair enough." But then I applied very early the next year and got in right off the bat. And so I just took classes to try to ease the the gen ed thing, because the one thing about Belmont is they really focus on the gen ed. It's not just like a music school where you can just walk in and take a bunch of music classes. You have to really focus on they want you to be well versed. So I did that kind of studies, knocked out. I think I transferred like 40 or 45 hours. So I was a sophomore when I transferred, but it was music for me, and it was going to be Belmont. So, I don't even think that I really looked other than at a couple of music schools just to kind of get a feel of what things look like.
How it compared.
I wanted to be, I wanted to be close enough to home too. It was one of those things like I wanted to get away, but not so far that it was more than a day's trip. So, because, you get really close to your family and I wanted them to be able to come over and all those kind of things too.
Yeah.
So
how far are you from Searcy?
it's about 6 hours. So especially depending on, there's two ways you can go. If you go through Memphis, and if you go through Memphis at a bad time of the day, you might as well forget it. So
turn that mic towards you a little bit.
Turn it toward me.
Yeah, perfect.
I try to, but 6 hours is easy, so they can come over on the weekends if they want to and make a weekend trip.
Very cool. So you said that you feel like your career, when you tell people when your career starts was with Miley. Is that what you said?
I kind of feel like that. I got my feet wet, if you will, for the first year, and for me, it was I at that point I was like, I want to work in country music, and then as soon as I got that taste with Miley, I sort of took it from there and kind of said, I don't want to do anything. I wanted to kind of, I like the other style that kind of comes with it and the way that it operates, because there's definitely a different way that a tour of what I was doing to the way that a massive pop tour runs. Yeah. And I just like the feeling of it better. I like bigger crews. I like having a lot of people around in that way. So I think it also gave me firsthand knowledge. I mean, I did 100 and something shows the year before. And I learned a lot from that, but actually learning how to really get in and do the business.
Who was that with? The 100-something?
The 100-something shows with Thomas Rhett the year before. So, but that was like when he was just first starting. So we did some shows with like Miranda and then Jason.
You were doing merchandise sales
for that.
So.
That's when I met you.
That is when you met me, yeah.
We
did a show in Kentucky.
It was Kentucky on a, was it a baseball field? It was a festival or something, right?
It was a dump. It was like out in the middle of something. So
where I think it was Louisville. Maybe?
It was Louisville. It was during their like fair expo or something. That right?
Yeah, 'cause I remember like being on it was
track.
Like an old baseball.
It was something
field turf or something.
That is when we met.
Yeah, I remember that.
So how did the Miley Cyrus thing come about?
Yeah, so what I did is at that time there was FEA merchandise, which is now Live Nation merchandise. And they had a few country clients, and one of them was Thomas Rhett at that point. So I'd connected with them quite a bit and worked with them, and we kind of got along. And considering that they took a chance on me and was like, this kid has no experience, and we're going to put him out and handling money and all those kind of things. Like, what are y'all thinking? But it ended up working out. So I told them when I left, I was like, I really enjoyed this, but I just don't know that the road is for me. And then I kind of got to thinking about it a few months later, and I was like, I don't really feel like I gave it a fair shot for a lot of different reasons. But I was like, I want to try it again because I didn't feel like I didn't accomplish anything, but I wanted to like really accomplish it. I like wanted to take it down. So I called him up and I was like, I think I want to go back on the road. If there's anything you can do, I don't know. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know who they had. I didn't know if it, being in Nashville at that point, I hadn't figured out that you could really be anywhere and work on those tours. Yeah. If you do country tours, you generally do have to be Nashville-based. But for other tours, you can be wherever you want to.
Because especially
that's an amazing thing.
It's great.
Because the more pop things are longer tours, right?
Longer tours. Yeah. Or they're more condensed, and no matter what happens, you're going to fly to the first show, and then you're going to get on a bus, as opposed to, they are going to do 40 shows in 2.5 months, as opposed to going out doing the weekend warrior thing, country music. They may go out like on a Wednesday night and do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe a Sunday, and then you come home. Right. You don't really do that on the pop side of things. You're generally out, you do the tour, and then you have a break in between legs, whether it be, Europe or whatnot. But I was pretty US based. I didn't really get to do a lot of outside stuff, but they were like, well, we need a third. Would you be interested in going on Miley? And I was like, yeah. I think I would. And I get out there in the first day and I'm like, I made another mistake. I was like, this is so stupid. But it worked out.
So what was that like?
It was the most fun thing and I made so many great friends, and I didn't really realize how it would go, but you're so connected and you're so with those people that you make a lot of great friends and a lot of great contacts. And that was a tour that was really, I was with the headliner, not the opening band, so you're treated much differently from a economical standpoint, but also like a need standpoint and what you need to accomplish to do your job. and everyone gets it. They knew what you had to do, and she treats her crew really well. She treats her band really well. She's had the same people across the board for the most part for several years since she was like Hannah Montana. So it was a really well-oiled machine. It was right as Bangers was going out, so that's when she was like from the award show and everything. So that was that tour, and it was very. It was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot of how to actually organize an arena tour from the headlining status and be on the team and those kind of things.
That's really cool.
And not have to do it by myself, because at that point I had only done it by myself. So,
did you see any weird things?
The things
from fans.
The things that I saw on that tour was probably one of my favorite things about it. I have pictures that I still laugh for days about and pull up every so often. And I think I've actually shared some of those pictures with Chance from the road that I'm like, this is very interesting, because her fans go all out. It's just a different world in the pop world. They dress up, they make signs, they don't wear clothes, they do wear clothes. Whatever floats your boat. I mean, anything goes kind of thing.
I've seen some clips from some of her shows and it looked pretty crazy.
It was pretty crazy, but it was from a production standpoint, and that girl can sing. She can sing really, really well. And I think that's one thing that she recently, I think people have really noticed again from when she performed on the Grammys with Elton John, and it's done some things like the girl can sing, and it's not just auto-tune. It's not just put on, like, she can sing.
Joe Rogan is a Miley Cyrus fan. So
Joe Rogan from Fear Factor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Every time somebody starts to like give her shit on his show, because he's got a podcast.
Yes.
And every time somebody like dogs her or whatever, he's like, I like Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, I would defend her.
Got some great songs.
Yeah, people.
I don't know.
And when people dog her, I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, no. It's like you really don't get it. Like, I think she's top notch. I do. I think she's top notch.
How long were you with her?
So I did the Bangers tour. She ended up getting sick, so we got canceled and got rescheduled. But I did about 4 months with her, and then went back and did another month or two. So a total of 6 months. And then as soon as that ended, literally that ended on a Sunday, and then I flew to Nassau or Uniondale, New York, at the Nassau Coliseum, and I was doing the Eagles, and it was a completely different. Wow. Actually, I flew from Nassau to Seattle to do the Eagles, and that was a completely different tour. I actually made the joke that nobody's tongue was out, but that there was canes on that one. So that I had not seen before. And I enjoyed the Eagles too. It was a completely different pace, and that machine is about as well-oiled as possible.
Oh, yeah.
And it was the history of the Eagles, so it was kind of the last tour that Glenn Frey did. So, but at that point, they had done several years of it, and several, like, I came in on one of the legs. So
I wonder if that was the tour. Was that like a tour that came out at the same time as that documentary?
I think
because the documentary was called "The History of the Eagles."
I think that's what kind of kicked off the tour. So because the documentary was already out by the time that I was on the tour. Yeah. Because we sold different things, and then again, that was what the name of the tour was. So I only got to do that one for about a month, because although it felt like a lot longer than that, because it was a longer show, and they had like their own intermission, and they were like their own opening band and those kind of things. So it was a very long show. But I did that for about a month, and I was the youngest person on the tour, and so everyone sort of warned me like, hey, this is like an old dog tour. Like, you need to keep your mouth shut. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's cool with me. And then I'm hanging out in production with the tour managers that have been there for years, and the guy that I was working with was kind of like a mentor. He was like, I can't believe that they like took to you. You're like 22. Like, what's the deal? And I said, well, I just said hello and was trying to be friendly and those kind of things. And then they pulled me off to do another tour because they needed another rep. But then that tour got canceled, and I tried to go back, but that didn't work out.
That
didn't work out.
Did you hear any good Eagles stories while you're?
Well, I've heard some great ones, but the thing about them is they have been together, several years since hell froze over, if you will, and they've kind of they do their own thing. And I honestly, because the way that they operate, I didn't really get to be around them that often, which was fine. But the stories and the way that their crew is, they've had some really amazing production managers, which on tours of that size really make or break a tour in a lot of ways.
So, like, what does the production manager do?
Yeah, so on tours on that size, we were talking about tour managers earlier, but on tours of that size, the tour manager really focuses on the tour as overall and really focuses a lot on the artist. The production manager focuses more on those kind of scales on anything crew related. So they're dealing with all the production for the show, the crew's jobs, getting the lighting crews, getting the video crews, the settings, the carpenters, like they're staffing the tour from that, and they're handling all production aspects and handling what's known as the C party, which is the crew party. So
I'm learning stuff here, Chance.
Yeah, man.
The C party.
There's A, B, and C party. A party is for obviously artists. B is generally band dancers, anybody that's associated with like the actual show, maybe like the Pro Tools guy or road manager, those kind of things. And then C party is all the crew people that are there early in the morning and till late at night, or the next morning, depending on what on Chance and I store together.
Chance was telling me. So were you on the Taylor Swift thing?
I was. Yeah, I was on the 89 tour.
He was telling me. Like, I don't know if I don't know if it was that tour, but you were telling me something about what the Carpenters get paid on those tours.
They make really well.
Crazy good money.
I mean,
and
there are certain
they
tours.
work ridiculous hours.
But it wasn't it where
They
like
work so
they
hard.
would work on those tours and then take like 6 months off and then just go live somewhere.
They can do whatever they want to do.
They really could, and that was one of the first conversations we had on that tour. I was like, Taylor's tour was long for this time. I mean, by the time you add in the rehearsals for a tour of that magnitude, it can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months and all that kind of thing. And then the actual tour, that's a huge amount of time for people to work. But generally, you can only do 1, maybe 2 tours a year, depending on how they're routed and depending on your position, because for most positions, you go everywhere with the tour. So you might do 40 dates in 2.5 months in the U.S., but then you're going to do, if you're Pink, you're doing 3 months in Australia. You're doing 3 months in Europe.
Pink,
if you're like
that?
Pink, the artist, like if you're like her, she goes and
I
does.
thought that was another like.
No, if you're like Pink,
That's awesome.
No, but like, she's really big in Australia. So that crew, especially, they're going to go start doing like a 3-month rundown in Australia here in June. So you can, you make a lot of money in a shorter period of time. And that can, if you do well, then you can make it last for the year, if you will. And that's kind of the goal, is to work hard really for a short period of time.
The money ain't give to you. You earn it.
You earn it. Mm-hmm. You done earned it, is what they say.
Yeah.
So and then the cool thing too is like some tours extend and they bring you back and those kind of things, which is what generally the Eagles do. And that worked out really well. And then I think the next year I met up with this Chance guy and was out with him for.
So what was after the Eagles?
What did I do after the Eagles? So I went out and filled in. Well, no. I was supposed to go. I went out with Pat Benatar, and at that point she was opening for Cher. So I was going to be on the Cher tour, and then Cher got sick, and so the tour got canceled. So I went and did, I don't know, whatever shows Pat had that was not with Cher, her own headlining shows with her husband. So I went
Small
and did
theaters or something like
casinos. Casinos. I remember flying to somewhere, West Virginia, and they picked up us up, and they're like, the drive's like an hour and a half. And I'm like, what? Where are we going? And
What
then
did
you
she
had
have?
no cell
She had-
reception.
Was she I Love Rock and Roll? Was that her? No, that was Joan Jett.
That was Joan Jett.
What did Pat Benatar do? Your love is a battlefield?
Love is a Battlefield. You belong with. No, that was Taylor. I was going to say she had a. We belong was her like, and hit me with your best shot. Those kind
Hit
of
me.
things.
That's what I was trying to think.
Yeah.
Of.
So great people. They have been doing it a while, and she tours every year, so she has a great audience. And so I think I did 10 or 15 shows with her, and that sort of wrapped up my year because touring on the pop circuit generally. I mean, it dies November, December. Nobody's out. No one wants to deal with
That's
the weather.
A lot of the music
In
business
general,
as a whole.
it's just touring is not. It's like Chance said earlier, and before we got on air, but he was talking about you do a few shows here and like around Thanksgiving and Christmas, like Christmas shows or like some few shows to like as whatever it may be to kind of end the year, but for the most part it's over. So you're like, oh, I've got to live November and December with no paycheck.
Yeah.
And it's like
I had a
yes.
great fall, but I can't just like go blow any money because I've got to know that I'm not going to make shit from November 15th till
maybe February.
February,
Yeah, or maybe even March, depending on when you get a gig. So, and that's kind of where I was because at that point, I'd been working with Live Nation quite a bit, and they were like, we really just don't have anything right now, and we're probably not going to have anything until maybe summertime. And then they called me in February and one day at 10 a.m. and said, hey, we need you to go fill in. We need to go do these 3 shows in like San Diego or something, and then go to Vegas. And by the way, we don't have a hotel for you in Vegas. And by the way, we need you to leave tonight. So I think I got that call at 10 that morning, and I was on a plane in Nashville at 6:30 going out. Had no hotel booked because they did not.
Wow,
they did not hold any space for me. So I'm like trying to book the hotel, and so I find this hotel. I land in Denver, and I'm like, Mom, I still don't have I'm on the phone with her. I'm like, I have to get on a plane, like, to go to San Diego. Can you please call and book me a hotel? This is my credit card. Like, this is what I'm doing, that kind of thing. And I didn't have a hotel until I landed, which that was a crazy trip. So, but in the middle of that trip is when I got a message on LinkedIn, and that set up the rest of my year for the 1989 LinkedIn message. I was like,
that?
It works.
You don't ever hear that shit.
LinkedIn works.
It works, and it's really funny because I was like, "What is this guy?" And this guy, I never heard of him. I had some mutual friends. I was like, "So he's got to be a Nashville guy. I know him somehow." And he's like, "Hey, just want to see what your year looks like." And I was like, "Well, I'm out of town. Can I come meet with y'all next week?" And I came in and realized who it was, and I was like, "This is great. Sure, I'll be into it." And they're like, "Okay, well, we want you to start in." At that point, I think it was about 5 weeks from then. I was like, oh, that works out great. So I did a bunch of local shows. I was a runner here in town just to have some money coming in. And then that was my 2015.
So with like local stuff like that, doing the runner thing, do you just utilize contacts that you've made in production companies and stuff?
Yeah, by far. I mean, Nashville, I kind of know the whole Nashville crew, if you will, that runs most of the shows from the Live Nation perspective. So I was kind of in with them, and also a lot of my friends from previous tours, introduced me to their friends who were production coordinators on tours. So on the production coordinator, they're like the production manager's quarterback, if you will. He's the coach. They're the production manager, kind of helping set everything up. So they would be like, "Hey, do you want to be my runner?" So I did, some of those kind of shows. And then once you do it, then the venues, like, they want you on their list. So they're like, Bridgestone will be like, "Hey, you interested in running?" and that kind of thing. So it's just a matter of, if you're nice to people and they don't,
you got to work hard and be nice.
You got to work hard and be nice. As Chance put on a shirt for me one day. I don't know if that was like a key for me to be nice, or if that was just because you wanted me to have one of those shirts.
I needed you to wear the shirt.
Yeah, because I've noticed.
There's a picture of my Instagram. I think of you wearing the shirt.
I think there is
up in a truck.
And I think I actually posted that shirt on my Instagram.
One of the many trucks that we unloaded.
Lots of trucks.
I've noticed through Chance's career in the last 6-8 years or whatever, and also in mine too. And I guess it's probably like this with everything, but especially in this business, it's so important to, while you're going through and you're meeting this person at this venue or this person at this thing, to remember, like, to be nice to them, but also remember who works for who, and keep those contacts and keep those relationships, because
it's everything.
A year, 18 months, 3 years down
everything
the road,
it's way too competitive to be an asshole.
Yeah. But you never know who you're going to run into that used to work there, and you used to work somewhere else, and then maybe they need something from you or you need something from them. And
and that, I mean, that's the thing, is everyone always needs something from someone, because at some point every single person is going, especially on the road side of things, is going to find themselves without work, because whether, if they're with a vendor company such as a lighting company and that company just doesn't have anything for them, or they've worked with a production manager for 10 years and he just doesn't have a tour, none of his artists that he works with is touring that year, and you need a gig. Right. It's all about that. And especially with the venue contacts across the world and in the US, you're going to go into those buildings. If you're on 2 major tours, you may go into those buildings twice a year. So if you're not very nice the first time, then you're probably not going to get what you need the second time. And so I think, Chance, I don't know if a lot of times I would walk in, I'm like, hey, and it's like I'm hugging everybody that I walk in, and it's kind of, I only remember having 2 arguments with 2 buildings ever, like in 5 years of touring, and that's just because they were just awful. But I think that's part of it, is really staying true to yourself, and it takes a lot more effort to be rude than it does to be nice. So that's how I feel anyway. I mean, I can.
Yeah. It does.
It takes a lot more effort to be just a jerk than it does to just say. It doesn't hurt to say hello and say please and thank you. Please and thank you gets you in a lot of ways, especially when you have a Southern accent like mine, and we're in like different areas of the country. And I'm like, please, man, thank you, man. Like, you can get a lot of things, a lot of discounts by that.
Well, so actually, I was looking this morning. I was looking at your LinkedIn profile.
Oh, were you?
Yes. I told
Stalker.
Chance, I was like, it's got a pretty good little resume here. I saw Meghan Trainor and Ariana Grande.
Yes, that was my last tour.
Yeah. What how were those?
Yeah, so
Was that together?
No, it was different. Okay. So once Taylor ended, I sort of
that was 1989 tour.
That was
1989.
Yeah, so that ended end of 2015, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do from there. I kind of at that point had done merch for a couple years, and I had some contacts with the VIP company through Live Nation because we had people out, and they're like, you really would be good at this just because you like people and you know how to deal with like the nonsense and that kind of thing. I'm like, okay, and so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I don't know what I'm gonna do, and I didn't really have anything booked until, I had, other than some random shows, I went out and did some stuff with Amy Grant and Stephen Curtis Chapman, some Christian shows, which all those people are really, really friendly. I did those to fill in some time, but then I got a call and they're like, hey, do you want to do Meghan Trainor's tour? It doesn't start for a couple months, but would you be interested in it? And so I said, sure. And that ended up being VIP. So she had a meet and greet and like a sound check party and those kind of things. So I was the VIP liaison on that tour. Cool. Just kind of being nice to people and getting them in. She did like a sound check party, and then we would take the group that purchased the meet and greets to do meet and greets, and I ran that for her and took care of all that kind of settlement and meet and greety things. And then in between, I had gotten a job working with Elle King, so she did a like a 2-month run, did that, went and did Meghan, and then went back straight to Elle King to do another merch run, and I did merch with her. And then right after Elle was done, I ended up with Ariana at the beginning of last year, and I did VIP on that one, and we had like a party, and there was me and another girl. That was definitely a team effort to take down all those. Her fans are crazy amazing, but they really, really love her, and they're really, really young, and they're really, really loud. So dealing with their VIP, so she had like a meet and greet and some party stuff and like backstage tours, so I got to take them around and show them different things backstage. And
nice.
So yeah, it was a nice. I had done the merch thing. I was kind of tired of being the last one done every night, if you will. I was just looking to do something a little bit different, and I wanted to sort of create the pathway. If I was going to stay on the road, I was sort of looking to do that more so that I could maybe roll into like a promoter rep role. Yeah. Because I would have the the financial background of it and like how everything kind of works from that standpoint and logistics and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's something Chance and I have discussed a lot. Is there's different career paths. Like if you want to be a plumber or whatever, then you start off here and you start as a plumber's assistant and you got to learn these things. Then you become, you work your way up that. So there's different career paths in the music business. And so like working in merchandise, we've discussed a lot, like, okay, where does that ultimately lead to? And there's a path you can go. Some people go toward the production side, stagehand or tech or
whatever,
lighting or sound or whatever. Or you can take the other turn and go toward the management side or the offices or whatever. And there's just so many different routes you can take. Do you have something that you're like ultimately like moving toward?
Well, if I was going to stay on the road, that was my path. Is I did not want to be a tour manager because I found out really quickly that my patience for the things that suck about the road, and there's just things that suck about the road, and generally dealing with artists and dealing with personalities. I was like, I think right now for the time being, I think I really would rather be on the promoter rep side of things. Tour accountant, that kind of thing, because I'm a numbers guy, I'm a business guy, and I just really enjoy the business of it all. Yeah. So that's kind of what I was sort of targeting myself to for just, that's kind of what I saw could be a really great career pathway. I mean, there's some people that have been doing it for 20-something years, and they have good livings, and they do a tour, and, they're the liaison between the building and the promoter who pays the bills, and then the artist. So that's kind of the way that I was steering myself. But ultimately at the very beginning, I thought I wanted to be an artist manager. I wanted to work in day-to-day and do artist management. And I think at some point, I think I may venture back into doing some of those kind of things.
Just you're 26 now?
Yeah.
You can manage me today.
I barely can manage myself some days. But
We'll talk pay next year.
Okay, I was about to say, let's talk about pay. But I think initially I was like, this road thing wasn't going to work out. But once I got used to it, I was like, this is actually pretty cool, because when you're home, you had the time to yourself, and it afforded me the opportunities to go on, a trip a year, which I am not a very extravagant spender, but I did enjoy doing that some. And then, of course, I got to travel while I was on the road, all expenses paid kind of thing, as opposed to coming out of your pocket. But, I had many friends, and I still have many friends that work in the business, in the offices, and they didn't have the luxuries that I did from the financial standpoint or the time off standpoint, or, they were in assistant roles, and they're still in assistant roles, and which it takes everybody, and you have to take those steps and those ladders that are part of the business. But I was making, on the road side of the business, I felt like I was making those steps. So it's hard, but the translation doesn't always get there. But I think eventually I will probably dip my toes back in, if you will, because I feel like as of right now, I have over 300 kids that I have to meet with on a semester by semester basis, and that's the ones that have to meet with me. We have, almost 3,000 in our college that I have to be of some kind of assistance to at some point. So I'm literally managing their life.
Are you one of the advisors, or are you like?
I'm one of two.
Wow.
I'm one of two.
For the entire school?
For our college at the university. So everybody's broken up. So for the Curb College, which we're the biggest college on campus, there's two of us. There's my boss, and then there's me.
I got you.
So, and we're kind of the admin/advisor. We handle all of that kind of stuff, because there's a lot of stuff that goes into it when you're dealing with students, and there's a lot of extra paperwork that I had no idea existed, but it does exist. So, so I'm kind of owning my admin skills right now, and just getting really good at putting puzzles together, because schedules can be challenging. Kids these days, since there's so much pressure on them to do everything, their schedules get a little bit complex, and a lot of them have to work heavy jobs just to afford to stay in college. Just that's the nature of the beast and the nature of the world. So working through their schedules is sometimes their hardest thing, and they're so stressed out they can't do it themselves. So I'm getting really good at doing schedules.
Yeah, there you go. What would you say has been your favorite job that you've had to date?
My favorite job, I would say I will do it by tours, because I think that's probably a good. I really, really love me some Elle King, which I haven't talked about much, but she's one of my favorite people.
I've heard the name, but I don't know.
She's got that X's and O's song, and she's getting ready to have another record, I think, come out.
Her dad's Rob Schneider.
Yeah,
that's that
the
girl.
actor.
Yeah,
Okay.
so she's so talented, and she just has a grit, and we just connected on the road. So I really
Rob Schneider.
You can
not
do
to
it.
Not to be confused with Rob Snyder, who is a friend of ours who runs the Revival 615 Songwriters Night.
Yes.
At
Yes.
Tin Roof.
Yes.
Different
yes,
people.
So she's probably one of my favorites, but I really enjoyed the Miley Cyrus tour. I really enjoyed Taylor's tour. If I had to pick on like the VIP
Are you
side
just
of
saying that because Chance is here? It's okay.
No.
We had a good time.
We
out
had a
there.
good time because we had a
to.
great crew. The guys that we worked with, the five of us, I thought really got along really well. So, no, if I didn't like Chance, I'd probably been like, I didn't really like the tour because I'm just kind of like.
I was trying to think of like some good stories from that tour.
Well, they all revolve around Berg, so
that we could tell. Do you remember on my 30th birthday in Seattle is when her dad wanted to take us to eat, and I turned and spilled my drink.
Oh yeah, you drank within 5 minutes of being
I told the waitress
Taylor Swift's dad?
Yeah, and I'm like, he's at the head of the table, and I'm sitting there just listening and pretty nervous, and I ordered an old fashioned, and
it didn't make it very far.
Waitress said, "Would you like a martini glass or a whiskey glass?" I was like, "I want it in a whiskey glass."
Yeah.
She brought it in a martini glass.
She did.
And I was sitting right where two tables joined.
And he set it down.
And when I set that martini glass down, it just tipped over. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to me in my life.
Country boy from Alabama don't know how to handle
and
a
we're at some
martini glass.
steakhouse
Happy
in
birthday,
Seattle.
Chance.
Yeah, it was funny too because I was sitting next to your right next to you, and you could almost feel like the deflation of Chance. He almost sunk into the seat without sinking into the seat. It was
I was
so
like,
funny.
My goodness.
I was like, it's okay. It happens to the best of us.
I swear this is my first drink.
Yeah, I know you're like, because we had been we had worked that day too, so we had not done much of anything to give you that chance. No chance, that chance.
What was that bar we went to in Pittsburgh?
Bar 11. It's amazing. It's glitter. You get glitter.
I woke up the
highlighter.
next morning with glitter all over me and highlighter on my face.
I found glitter the next,
and it was like, what happened?
I found glitter the next week on me from something, and I'm not really sure how, but it's one of the coolest things. And everybody was there from the crew, and it was kind of early in the tour, so it was a great icebreaker. And I think our cover got broken, so then all the songs kept revolving around what we were doing, and we were like, we got to get out of this place. But it was a fun time. But yeah, there was glitter, and they wrote on you with highlighter, and there was like a chalkboard in there too. So
Sounds
I remember
like a
getting
drag
chalk
show.
all
We all
over
had a
me.
drag show.
When we were leaving, Adam tried to pull up the stop sign while we were waiting on an
I
Uber.
was like, you need to stop. You need to stop right now. The best part about this place, though, is it was very small. So, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was over capacity, and it's not in a good side of town in Pittsburgh. So, like, all of us are hollering up in there.
It was super
and
divey.
We were, like, howling out. So, that is probably one of my favorite places that I've ever been.
They had
just fun.
They had a drum over the bar.
And I think you actually were on the bar pounding.
Yeah,
it.
I might have had some shots. And I got up there, and if you told the bartender, they would give you a drumstick, and you could just...
And a tambourine, too. Wasn't like a drumstick.
You
and
could beat the shit out of that drum. And sure enough, I did.
You did. I remember that now. I'd forgot about that, but that's very, very true. Very true. But we had some good time, and I think that's what actually the road as a whole is. You really... I mean, every tour that I've ever done, I've got connections with, not only from a work standpoint, but like a friend standpoint. I mean, there's only every single tour I've ever done, with the exception of the first one, I still keep in contact with people on a regular basis. And anytime they're in town, I'm either working the show, because I still work a lot of shows here in town, or they're hitting me up like, hey, do you want to come hang out, and those kind of things. So it's nice to create those friendships and those bonds, because you have no other way of living. I mean, these are your friends, so you don't have to like them, but if you don't, you leave them alone. The ones that you do like, you keep in contact with.
It's a consistent thing, like from whether it's a van and trailer tour all the way up to the Taylor Swift tour, and all in between, it's the hang. It's of course you're there to work and you do the work, and that's one thing, but it's the time when you're not working, when you're on the bus or you're...
I feel like touring brings a special bond to people, because you feel like you're in the trenches together. Like when you start something, it's like, I don't know if I like you or if you like me, but by the end of it, when you've worked all those long days, and when we were out there, we were working some days that were like 18, 20 hours.
Well, I mean, we saw the sun come up, actually not just come up, it was daytime by the time we went to bed for a couple of those shows.
Yeah, we worked all through the day, all through the night, into the next morning. And when you do that with people, you gain a certain amount of respect for them, and when it's all over, it's like, man, we did it, and we did it together.
Yeah.
And you always remember that.
Yeah, because it's a complete team effort, and it's the same way, like you said, from van and bus. I think different personalities fit differently. Like, my personality fits better on a bigger tour than it probably would in a van and bus, because that's what I know. That's how I've I didn't never have to tour in that manner. So I'm used to certain things, and but I think it's all about the hang. And I'm probably not personally, I would say about myself, I'm probably not the best hang when it's a few smaller group of people. I'm better in when there's a lot of choices to do, and I'm also not like a big group person, so you get a lot more funny things out of me or live things out of me when it's just like a group of 5 or 6. But having to like hang with them and work with them is a little bit different. So I think that's why that was my goal every year, is I want to be on the biggest freaking tour there is. Like, I don't care what I have to do. I want on the biggest freaking tour. And that's
crazy, because I'm the complete opposite. Like, it takes all kinds of kinds.
It does, yeah. Sure. But that's why we get along, though, because our personalities fit really well on that tour, because we needed different dynamics for that tour. So, yeah.
I'd only done small family things. That's the biggest thing that I have ever done, and I believe it will be the biggest thing I will ever do, because as much as I loved it, I enjoy the family aspect of things. I enjoy the smaller stuff and the smaller groups. So I think it's really cool and really interesting that You know,
some people enjoy that big. Yeah.
And I say that, but on the other hand, like, you know, Els, it was a very small crew. I mean, the first tour we're all on the bus. I mean, there's more people than there was bunks, kind of thing. So, and all those people are cool. So that was a good dynamic. So I think it may just be about the tour and what kind of tour you're
depends on the people.
tour you're on for me.
For sure.
So
what the reason I started this whole thing a little over a year ago now is that I thought of the conversations that I would have wanted to listen to when I moved here in 2009 and had no earthly idea what I wanted to do or how things worked or anything. And so I think of the things that I would have wanted to listen to at that time. So what advice would you give or what advice do you give to, as an advisor, like to kids that know they want to be in music or know they want, you know, they love music or they want to be involved in the business side or whatever, to get started, to kind of feel your way?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I tell them is this business is not for, you have to want to be in this business. It is too hard of a business and too cutthroat not to want to be. Yeah. So you really have to take a look at yourself and go, why is it that I want to be in it? Is it just because I'm a fan? Well, that's okay, because the story is everyone's a fan. That's why they want to be in the business. Yeah. But there has to be more to it than that. It can't just be, you know, as much as we want to be like, it's all about the love of music. No, and some of it's a business. It's a business, and that's what's going on. And so there has to be more to it than that. So I say, you know, first of all, think about where you want to be. Think about where you want to be in 10 years, that kind of thing. So I give them this kind of, if you will, homework wheel to think about it. But from the other standpoint, when they're brand new to town and trying to figure it out, I say, go to everything you can that's free, because I know it's hard when you're a student to afford some of those kind of things. And so go to everything you can, it's free, and make the effort to at least meet 2 people every time. Meet 2 people.
That's great advice.
You should do this for a living.
I know, right? Maybe I should just give advice for a living and do it on a.
We could call you an advice.
An advisor. I know. I say all the time that I'm kind of like a therapist without the paycheck, so I really should figure out how to do that. You know what I mean? Or like a life coach thing. But no, I tell them, you know, try to meet 2 people, and they could be 2 different people. They could just be people that are attending that are just like you, because you're going to end up working with them. I also tell them, until you get to the point where you're allowed to intern, you know, volunteer and try to help at as many events as possible. And when you're that, nothing is too small for you. Like, it is fair game. Anything you're asked, do it with a smile on your face. Help people out. Be kind. Nothing. I don't care if you are the big shot in your town. Here, you're the small fish. So treat it as such. Nothing is too big for you. And then I also tell them, like, on the internship scale, like, think about where you want to be. Think about the artist you want to be at. If it's just someone that you're a fan at, and so you're trying to, like, get into that company, that is going to be picked up on. So think about artists that you maybe you're not necessarily the most fan of, but you sort of have some kind of respect for. Because, I mean, I personally, there are some artists that I don't really care for their stuff, but I have so much respect for what they have going on that I think that that's admirable. And so I say, think about those kind of things, and when you start applying, and because they're going to throw questions at you that are to see your character. Things can be taught. Yeah. Things can be learned, but you have to really get in there. And I think it really just comes down to wanting it and being kind to people, and realizing too that you are going to get punched in the stomach at some point. And that is the hardest thing to learn, but it happens to every single person in this city, every single person in this business, from movies to music. It's just the way the business is. So be prepared for that not to work out, because it's not going to. It doesn't always work out. So I try to give them realistic expectations of it all. Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. You should write all that down in a book. And well, it's funny because I'm actually working on a book and a class and a speaking kind of thing. So I'm kind of trying to put all that stuff together now. Like what you said about not just being a fan of, like, oh, I'm a fan of them, I want to go work for them. Mm-hmm. Like, you should really find someone that you respect what they're doing, not just, they're pretty and I like their songs, you know? Right. And I don't know that I always took my own advice, because like I just said a minute ago, I made the conscious effort to, like, really try to be on the biggest tour, but that was from, like, a business standpoint. I'm thinking this is going to be the biggest tour. I'm going to have the greatest experience on it, and, you know, there's people that I wanted to tour with, but it was more about everything. It was the whole thing. But for someone that's brand new, that would be what I would say.
I feel like say yes to everything.
Yeah, that's
For a long time.
You have to say yes to everything.
I didn't say no to anything. The worst gigs, the worst things that came my way, I'd be like, yeah, I'd love to do it.
I've read that in books, heard it on podcasts, like especially stuff that I've read from as a musician and artist standpoint, like when you're booking shows or when you're doing things, like say yes until you can't say yes anymore. Like it's what I've always heard.
I think that's what I did. I mean, as an intern, I did everything. I was constantly out, and now it's really funny because a lot of my friends that I don't see very often, but they call me the old man because they're like, it's almost like seeing the Bigfoot when we actually see you out at something because I don't go anymore because I don't really have to. And
because you felt like you had to for a long time.
I went to everything that I could, everything that I could physically go to, which was absolutely exhausting.
What kind of music are you jamming on right now?
Well, I'll just tell you, I went to JT's show last week.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
And that show is sick. It's that he's probably him and Bruno are probably the two that I wish I could have toured with that I didn't get to, and then maybe Adele. I really wanted to do that Adele tour, but I didn't get that one.
I saw some pictures from the JT show, and he looked like a carpenter.
He looks like a carpenter.
He was wearing like blue
does.
jeans and
He's
like boots and
definitely taking the man in the woods thing really well. So I don't particularly his new album is not for everyone. I think he's got a few great songs, and I think that's the consensus across the board. But I'm really liking what Luke Combs has going on. I think that he is a really talented guy. He has a different look that you don't get to see a lot. And I think
he looks like a real.
He
person.
looks like a real person. So I love his song.
He looks like somebody that grew up 2 doors down from
right.
him.
Yeah. So I'm definitely vibing on him right now. I think he's got a lot going on.
Because I remember, like, I asked you that question because I remember at this 30th birthday dinner where I spilled my drink that we were talking about earlier. They asked you the question of who are like some up and coming female artists, and I drew a total blank. And at the time I wasn't listening. I haven't listened to the radio in quite a while, and I had no idea who the next person was going to be. And I remember you were like, I think Kelsey Ballerini. And now we can sit here in 2018 and be like, "Oh yeah, Alex called it."
Yeah. There was just something about her. She's got a spirit, and whatever you want to say about the music, but she definitely has the marketability, which is, that's just part of it too. Again, you want to say it's all about the music, but unfortunately, it's not the case. And that
is one of the I think as far as things in the last 9 years or whatever of me living here that's disappointed me the most about the music business is honestly how little sometimes musical talent has to do with
if it just came down to musical talent, the whole music world would look so different.
Oh, drastically
if that was the prereq.
And I think that's why it takes so long to build some of these people, because people that are very talented get deals, but they are not marketable in a lot of ways, from whether it's appearance, whether it's the way they talk, whether it's the way they believe about things. Like, they don't have a story that's very interesting. They just, okay.
How important are stories to your marketability?
The story is what it is.
People love a good story. I grew up poor. My daddy beat me. My mama drank. I lived in my car. I played shitty clubs for 12 years. And then one day, I got a record deal.
It's because everyone wants that underdog, and we're very, as a society, we're very easily entertained, which is why everyone's always running all over the place. It's because we can't sit still as a society. So it's really funny how that goes. But I remember that dinner. I remember I was like, in country, I think that you're probably going to hear about this girl. And
I didn't have a clue who to say. I was like, I don't know.
I either that could have went really bad. I could have really stuck my foot in my mouth in that conversation for a lot of other reasons we can't talk about on this podcast. But I think it worked, because after that, then I was getting like, hey, what you heard any good stuff coming out? Know anything going on? That was the first question I always got asked by him every time he saw me. So what's coming up? Are you gonna cruise on the advisor thing for a while? I think I just hit my first year, so I think I do enjoy a lot of aspects of it. So I think I'm gonna stick with it a little bit. I feel like I just have gained a little bit more flexibility now, just being there a year and being all the growing
You've done
pains.
so much, but you're still so young. Like,
I know. I try, and I do every show. I mean, I work down at the amphitheater, so I do every show that I can do.
Nice,
so I'm still very involved. I've done a couple shows. Like, I still get hit up to do weekend run stuff. So I'm still a little bit involved, or I wouldn't just say a little bit, but I stay enough involved in it that if I would like to open up the floodgates at some point, I think I will. I really
keeping one toe.
You know, just
one toe in the water.
I keep my big toe and maybe the next one in, like the ring toe or whatever, just enough to have it. But I think I'll hang doing that a little while. I really am starting. I don't know why I haven't done it yet. I think it's because I just don't like LA, but I really am enjoying like TV and that kind of the side of the entertainment business.
Yeah.
So I've got some things that I'm trying to work on that have really not gotten off the ground because I've sort of gotten lazy in some aspects, but working on those kind of things. And ultimately I want to be my own. I want my own business, whether that's as an artist manager or whatever, or whether it's in some other capacity of live coaching or whatever it may be, you know, something that it's my own, because
something you don't even know about yet.
it could be, I'm open to
be.
anything. And everyone's like, would you say no? And I said, I don't say no to anything. I welcome every opportunity, and then I'll think about it. And if I feel like it's the right thing, then I will, which I've had one recently. It just didn't feel right. And it has to feel right for me, because if I have especially now that I don't have to say yes to everything, it just makes it easier to be able to say no. But there was just some kind of layer that was just too much there for me to see through the muddy water, if you will.
Yeah.
That I was like, this is not a good idea to put the toe back into that one. So I'm just going to chill. So, but there'll be things I'm sure that'll come up. So who knows? I may end up back out on the road. So that's what everyone seems to have on their mind for me. But I'm just like, let me live. But I'll be 30 soon, so I've got a few more years. Maybe by then I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Once you write that book with your life coaching and stuff, you can come back on here. We'll talk about the book.
Yes.
And we'll sell it.
I'm gonna need a signed copy.
I will sign it for you, Chance, and I'll be like, to my buddy Chance, green jeans for life.
Green jeans.
Work hard and be nice, right. Alex. Because I can't be writing my last name as my signature. That'd look like I'm a hot mess. I'd be like, what? Just Q.
Yeah.
Q.
AQ.
So,
anything else that you want to get?
Do you have any funny stories that would be fun to tell to end this? You're better at stories than I am.
To the people of Arkansas that are going to listen to this,
Man,
Tell everyone how
Belmont
much
students?
of a jerk I am. That's the truth. I've just got everyone fooled.
No, I don't think you'd be a jerk. You're very particular.
I'm a particular person.
Yeah, I think actually that kind of fits well with the business, because you, like, as a musician, for you, Jacob, you know, you're like, I want it to sound a certain way. I want to do certain things. So, I think my ultimate advice is just go for anything, because you never know. It may work one time and not the next time. So,
I mean, I learned a lot from you when we did the Taylor thing. I was 29 and you were 23 or 4.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Like, I was the oldest one on the crew.
But Alex had done.
He had experience on that level and had been there before. And I was doing county fairs and tractor pulls and shows with you in a van. Like, I'd stadiums and arenas. Holy shit! I had no idea what was going on, and like he would help me all the time with just little random things about making that tour happen. And he already knew what to do for the shows. I didn't know what to do for the shows.
Yeah, I mean that's how I felt. That's honestly how I felt going into the Miley thing, because I'd been on the opening act, and a lot of times you're just there. I mean, you just sort of show up and you do the show and you do your little small part in it.
Your
but
little area,
that's kind of how I felt. So it's a very different eye-opening.
Sometimes you got to sink or swim.
Yeah.
Well, it's all sink or swim, and a lot of people have to sink. A lot. It's like dead weight on the bottom of their feet.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, Alex, thank you so much for talking, man.
Thank you for having me. This was a good time.
Chance, as always, thanks.
It's always good to be here in my house.
People, thank you for listening. I love you all. Love you long time. All right. Thanks for listening, folks. Check out don'tstifleme.com/054 for show notes and links. And if you enjoyed this talk, please subscribe to the podcast here. Maybe review it. Definitely share with anybody that you think might be interested in listening to these talks. But you can also go check out patreon.com/DSM podcast to help support the podcast and keep it going forward from here. Our social medias are all at DSM Podcast. Mine are all at Jacob Stiefel, and I run everything having to do with anything to do with me and the podcast and all that good stuff. So shoot me a message, comment, whatever, say hey. Thank you so much for listening once again. I hope you have a beautiful day and a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you again soon.